guys, today we are gonna read the book The Adventures of Captain Underpants, full color, the first epic novel by Dav Pilkey. Let's start, guys. The Adventures of Captain Underpants, full color. Tra la la. Chapter 1, George and Harold. Meet George Beard and Harold Hutchins. George is the kid on the left with the tie and the flat top. Harold is the one on the right with the t-shirt and a bad haircut. Remember that now. Flower shop. Pick your own roses. That's good. George and Harold were best friends. They had a lot in common. They lived right next door to each other, and they were both in the same 4th grade class at German Hortwitz Elementary School. George and Harold were usually responsible kids. Whenever anything bad happened, George and Harold were usually responsible. Flower shop, pick our noses. But don't get the wrong idea about these two. George and Harold were actually nice boys. No matter everybody else thought they were good, sweet and lovable. Well, okay, maybe they weren't so sweet and lovable, but they were good nonetheless. It's just that George and Harold each had a silly streak, a mile long. Usually, that silly streak was hard to control. Sometimes it got them in trouble, and once it got them into big trouble. Before I can tell you that story, I have to tell you this story. Chapter 2, Treehouse Comics Inc. After a hard day of cracking jokes, pulling pranks, and causing mayhem at school, George and Harold liked to rush to the old tree house in George's backyard. Inside the tree house were 2 big old fluffy chairs, a table, a cupboard crammed with junk food, and a padlocked crate filled with pencils, pens, and stacks of paper. Now Harold loved to draw and George loved to make up stories, and together the 2 boys spent hours and hours writing, drawing their very own comic books. Over the years, they had created hundreds of their own comics, starring dozens of their own superheroes. First there was Dogman, then came Timmy the Talking Toilet, and who can forget the amazing Car Lady? But the all-time greatest superhero they ever made up had to be the amazing Captain Underpants. What? Captain Underpants? Not cool. George came up with the idea. Most superheroes look like they're flying around in their underwater, he said. Well, this guy actually is flying around in his underwear. These 2 boys laughed and laughed. Yeah, said Harold. He could fight with power. George and Harold spent entire afternoons writing and drawing the comic Adventures of Captain Underpants. He was the coolest superhero ever. Luckily for the boys, the secretary at Johns Hortwitz Elementary School was much too busy to keep an eye on the copy machine. So whenever they got a chance, George and Harold would sneak into the office and run off several hundred copies of their latest Captain Underpants adventure. After school, they sold their homemade comics on the playground for 50 cents each. Chapter 3, The Adventures of Captain Underpants, written by George Beard, cartoons by Harold Hutchins. The Really Cool Adventures of Captain Underpants, written by George Beard, drawn by Harold Hutchins. It was a time of darkness and despair for planet Earth. Bad guys had taken over the streets, and all of the superheroes in the world were too old to fight evil. Hey! Ha ha ha! Batman and Superman and Spider-Man, what are they doing? Then along come a new, improved, extra-strength superhero. Tra la la! Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a egg salad sandwich. No way, I'm Captain Underpants. Captain Underpants was faster than a speeding wristband. Zoom! More powerful than boxer shorts. And able to leap tall buildings without getting a wedge. Tra la la! Night and day, Captain Underpants watched over the city, fighting for truth, justice, and all that is Prashant and Courtney. Meanwhile, at a nearby elementary school, turn the page. It was Stinky Taco Surprise Day at cafeteria. Yuck! Everybody hated it too much. They all threw it away. Trash. Soon the cafeteria food came to life. Oh, I am Incredible Hulk. Oh, I'm sorry. I am Incredible Hunk. Or maybe Hulk. Maybe I can't read it. The monster ran around the school eating everything in the sight. Munch, munch, munch. Help! The Incredible Hunk just ate up 15 folding chairs and the gym teacher. Oh no! Not folding chairs, the principal. This looks like a job for tra-la-la. Captain Underpants! Captain Underpants shot lots of underwears at the monster, but it didn't do any good. Munch, munch, munch. So Captain Underpants took off running. The Incredible Hulk chased him. Grrr! Help! What? And chased him. Finally, Incredible Hulk got tired and thirsty to chase Captain Underpants. How about a nice drink of water? So the monster took a long drink from the shining white ball, gulp, 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 and suddenly, flush! Hooray for Captain Underpants! And so the Indibble Hunk got flushed away and was never heard from again. Tra-la-la, the end. Don't miss our next existing adventure, Captain Underpants and the Attack of Talking Toilets, coming soon to you, playground near you. Treehouse Comics Inc. Chapter 4. Men Old Mr. Krupp. Do you see that old guy looking out from the window up there? That's Mr. Krupp, the principal. Now Mr. Krupp was the meanest, sorest old principal in the whole history of German Hartwig Elementary School. He hated laughter and singing. He hated the sounds of children playing at recess. In the fact, he hated children altogether. And guess which two children Mr. Krupp hated most of all? Of course, George and Harold. If you guessed George and Harold, you're right. Mr. Krupp hated George and Harold. He hated their pranks and their wisecracks. He hated their silly attitudes and their constant giggling. He especially hated those two awful Captain Underpants comic books. I'm going to get those boys one day, Mr. Krupp vowed. One day, very, very soon. Neil here. Chapter 5. One day, very, very soon. Remember when I said that George and Harold's silly streak got them into big trouble once? Well, this is the story of how that happened, and how some huge pranks and a little blackmail turned to their principal and the coolest superhero of all. It was the day of the big football game between Harvard's Conkelheads and the Steubenville Stinkbucks. The bleachers were filled with fans. German Hartwitz Elementary. See your big football game today. The cheerleaders ran onto the field and shook their palms over their head. A fine black dust drifted out of their palms and settled all around them. "Give me a K," shouted the cheerleaders. "K," repeated the fans. "Give me an N," shouted the cheerleaders. "N," repeated the fans. "Give me an Achoo," sneezed all the cheerleaders. "Achoo," repeated the fans. Achoo, achoo, achoo. The cheerleaders sneezed and sneezed and sneezed some more. They couldn't stop sneezing. "Hey!" shouted a fan in the bleachers. "Somebody sprinkled black pepper into the cheerleaders' pom-poms." I wonder who would do that," asked the other fan. The cheerleaders stumbled off the field, sneezing and dripping with mucus. As the marching band members took their places. But when the band began to play, steady streams of bubbles began blowing out of their instruments. Bubbles were everywhere, up and down from the field. The marching band slipped and slid, leaving behind a thick trail of wet bubbly foam. "Hey!" shouted a fan in the bleachers. Somebody poured bubble bath into the marching band's instruments. "I wonder who do that," asked other fan. "Achoo, achoo." Soon the football team took the field. The uncle kicked the balls up, up, up went the ball. Higher and higher it went. The ball sailed into clouds and kept right on going until nobody could see it anymore. "Hey!" shouted one more fan in the beacher. "Somebody filled the game ball with helium." "I wonder who do that," asked the other fan. But the missing ball didn't make any difference because at that moment the controls were rolling around the field, scratching and itching like crazy. "Hey!" shouted the coach. Somebody replaced our deep heating muscle rub lotion with Mr. Prankster's extra scratchy itching cream. We wonder who do that," shouted the fans in the bleachers. The whole afternoon went on much the same way. The people shouted everything from "Hey, somebody put sea monkeys in limited" to "Hey, somebody glued all the bathroom doors shut." Before long, most of the fans in the bleachers had gotten up and left. The big game had been forfeited, and everyone in the entire school was miserable. Jeremy's Harvard's Elementary. "Boy, our feet smell bad." Everything, that is, except for two giggling boys, crouched in the shadows beneath the bleachers. Those were our best pranks yet," laughed Harold. "Yup," chuckled George. "They'll be hard to top, that's for sure." "I just hope we don't get busted for this," said Harold. "Don't worry," said George. "We covered our tracks very well. There's no way we'll be busted." Chapter 6. Busted. The next day at school, an announcement came over the loudspeakers. "George Beard and Harold Hutchins, please report to Principal's Crop office at once." "Uh-oh," said Harold. "I don't like the sound of that." "Don't worry," said George. "They can't prove anything." George and Harold entered the principal's club office and sat down on the chairs in front of his desk. The two boys had been in the office together countless times before, but this time was different. Mr. Crump was smiling. As long as George and Harold had known Mr. Crump, they had never ever seen him smile. Mr. Krupp knew something. I didn't see you boys at the big game yesterday, said Mr. Krupp. Oh, oh no, oh no, said George. We weren't feeling well. Yeah, Harold stammered nervously. We went home. Oh, that's too bad, said Mr. Prince. Oh, that's too bad, said Principal Krupp. You boys missed a good game. George and Harold quickly glanced at each other, gulped, and tried hard not to look guilty. Lucky for you, I have a videotape of the whole thing, said Mr. Krupp. Mr. Krupp said. He turned on the television in the corner and pressed the play button of the VCR. A black and white image appeared on the TV screen. It was an overhead shot of George and Harold sprinkling pepper into the cheerleaders' pom-poms. Next came a shot of George and Harold pouring liquid bubble bath into the marching band's instruments. How do you like the pre-game show? Asked Mr. Krupp with a devilish grin. George eyed at the television screen in the terror. He couldn't answer. Harold's eyes were glued to the floor. He couldn't look. The tape went on, revealing all of the George and Harold's behind-scenes antics. By now, both boys were eyeing the floors, squirming nervously and dripping with sweat. Mr. Krupp turned off the TV. You know, he said, ever since you boys came to this school, it's been one prank after another. First, you put this kid's frog in the jell of salad at parent-teachers' banquet. Then you made it snow in the cafeteria. Then you ringled all the intercoms so they played We're I Young Wing songs full blast for 6 hours straight. For 4 long years, you two have been running amok in this school, and I've never been able to prove anything until now. Mr. Krupp held the videotape in his hand. I took the liberty of installing tiny video surveillance cameras all around the school. I knew I'd catch you two in the act one day. I just didn't know it would be so easy. Chapter 7 A Little Blackmail. Mr. Krupp sat back in his chair and chuckled to himself for a long time. Finally, George got up the courage to speak. Well, what are you going to do with that tape? He said. I thought you'd never ask, laughed Mr. Krupp. I've thought long and hard about to do with this tape, Mr. Krupp said. At first, I thought I'd send copies to your parents. The boys swallowed hard and sank deeply into their chairs. Then I thought I might send a copy to the school board, Mr. Krupp continued. I could get you both expelled for this. The boys swallowed harder and sank deeper in their chairs. Finally, I came to a decision, Mr. Krupp concluded. I think the football team would be very curious to find out just who was responsible for yesterday's fiasco. I think I'll send a copy to them. George and Harold leaped out of their chairs and fell to their knees. No, cried George. You can't do that. They'll kill us. Yeah, begged Harold. They'll kill us every day for the rest of our lives. Mr. Krupp laughed and laughed. Please, have mercy. The boys cried. We'll do anything. Anything? Asked Principal Krupp with delight. He reached into his desk, pulled out a list of demands, and tossed it at the boys. If you don't want to be dead as long as your life, you'll follow these rules exactly. George and Harold carefully looked over the list. This is blackmail, said George. Call it what you like, Principal Crab snapped. But if you don't follow that list exactly, then the state becomes the property of Howard's Chunkleheads heads. Rules. No more practical jokes or pranks. Number 2, no laughing or smiling. Number 3, no more. Number 4, no more Captain Underpants. Number 5, wash my car every day. Number 6, Mom, I. Chapter 8, Crime and Punishment. At 6 o'clock the next morning, George and Harold dragged themselves out of the bed, walked over to Mr. Crab's house, and began washing his car. Then, while Harold scrubbed the tires, George roaming around with the yard, pulling up all the weeds and crabgrass he could find. Afterwards, they cleaned the gutters and washed all the windows on Mr. Crab's house. At school, George and Harold sat up late, listened carefully and spoke only when spoken to. They didn't tell jokes and didn't pull pranks. They didn't even smile. Their teacher kept pinching herself. I just know this is a dream, he said. At lunch, the two boys vacuumed Mr. Crab's office, shined his shoes, polished his desktop and recess. They clipped his fingernails and ironed his tie. Each spare moment in the boys' daily schedule was spent carting to Mr. Crab's every whim. After school, George and Harold mowed Mr. Crab's lawn, tended his garden, and began painting the front of his house at sunset. Mr. Crab came outside and handed each boy a stack of books. Gentlemen, he said, I've asked your teachers to give you both extra homework. Now go home, study hard. I'll see you back here at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. We've got a busy day ahead of us. Thank you, sir, moaned the two boys. George and Harold walked home dead tired. Man, this was the first day of my entire life, said George. Don't worry, said Harold. We'll only have to do this for 8 more years. Then we can move away from some far off the land where they'll never find us, maybe Antarctica. I've got a better idea, said George. Hey kids, it's the 3D hypno ring. He took a piece of paper out of his pocket and handed it to Harold. It was an old magazine ad for the 3D hypno ring. How is this going to help us? Asked Harold. All we gotta do is hypnotize Mr. Crab, said George. We'll make him give us the video and forget this whole mess ever happened. That's a great idea, said Harold. And the best part is we only have to wait for 4 to 6 weeks for delivery. Chapter 9. 4 to 6 weeks later. After 4 to 6 weeks of back-breaking labor, grueling homework assignments, and humiliating good behavior at school, a package arrived in George's mailbox from the Lee Weasley Novelty Company. It was 3D hypno ring. Ha ha he Laja, cried George. It's everything I ever hoped for. Let me see, said Harold. Don't look directly at it, warned George. You don't want to get hypnotized, do you? Do you really think it will work? Asked Harold. Do you really think we can amaze our friends, control our enemies, and rule the world just like the ad says? It, it better work, said George, or else we just wasted our 4 whole bucks. Chapter 10, The 3D Hypno Ring. The next morning, George and Harold didn't arrive early at Mr. Crubb's house to wash his car and reaching his roof. In the fact, they were even a little late getting to school. When they finally showed up, Mr. Crubb was standing at the front door waiting for them, and boy, was he mad! Mr. Crubb escorted the boys into his office and slammed the door. All right, where were you two this morning? He growled. He wanted to come over to our house, said George, but we were very busy trying to figure out the secret of this ring. What ring? Snapped Mr. Crubb. George held up his hand and showed the ring to Mr. Cup. It's got one of those weird patterns on it, said Harold. If you stare at it long enough, a picture appears. Well, hold it still, snarled Mr. Crubb. I can't see the darn thing. I have to move it back and forth, said George, or else it won't work. Mr. Crubb's eyes followed the ring back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You have to stare deeper into the ring, said Harold. Deeper, 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 deeper. You are getting sleepy, said George. Very sleepy, said Mr. Crubb. Very sleepy. Mr. Crubb's eyelids began to drop. I'm so sleepy, he mumbled. After a few minutes, Mr. Crubb's eyes were closed tight, and he began to snore. You are under our spell, said George. When I snap my fingers, you will obey our every command. Snap! I will obey. I will obey, mumbled Mr. Crubb. All right, said George. Have you still got that videotape of me and Harold? Yes, mumbled Mr. Crubb. Well, hand it over to me, Bob, George instructed. Mr. Crubb unlocked a large file cabinet, opened the bottom drawer. He reached in and handed George his videotape. George stuffed it into his backpack. Harold took a different video out of his backpack and put it into his file cabinet. What's that video? Asked George. It's one of my little sister's old Boomer and Purple Dragon sing-along videos. Nice touch, said George. Chapter 11. Fun with Hypnosis. Alright, let me drink water. When Harold bent down to close the file cabinet, he took a quick look inside. Whoa! He cried. Look at all the stuff in here. The file cabinet was filled with everything Mr. Crubb had taken away from the boys over the years. There were slingshots, whippy cushions, skateboards, fake doggy doo-doo, you name it. It was in there. Look at this, cried George. A big stack of Captain Underpants comics. He's got every issue, said Harold. For hours, the two boys sat on the floor laughing and reading their comics. Finally, George looked up at the clock. Yikes, he said. It's almost lunchtime. We better clean up this mess and get to the class. The boys looked up at the principal, who had been standing behind them in a trace all morning. Gee, I almost forgot about Mr. Krupps, said Harold. What should we do with him? Do you want to have some fun? Asked George. Why not? Said Harold. I haven't had any fun in the last 4 to 6 weeks. Cool, said George. He walked up to Mr. Krupps and snapped his fingers. Snap! You're a chicken, he said. Suddenly, Mr. Krupps leaped onto his desk and flapped his hands. Cluck, 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 he cried, kicking his papers off the desk behind him and picking at his pen and pencil set. George and Harold howled with laughter. Let me try, said Harold. You're a monkey. You gotta snap your fingers, said George. Oh yeah, he said Harold. Snap! You're a monkey. Suddenly, Mr. Krupps sprang off his desk and began swinging on the florist ride fixtures. Ooh, 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 ooh. He shrieked, leaping from one side to the room to the other. George and Harold laughed so hard they almost cried. My turn, said George. Let's see, what should we turn him into next? I know, Harold said, holding up a Captain Underpants comic. Let's turn him into Captain Underpants. Good idea, said George. Snap! You are now the greatest superhero of all time, the amazing Captain Underpants. Mr. Krupps tore down the red curtain from his office window and tied it around his neck. Then he took off his shoes, socks, shirt, pant, and his awful toupee. Tra-la-la, he sang. Mr. Krupps stood before them looking quite triumphant, with his cape blowing in the breeze of the open window. George and Harold were dumbfounded. You know, said George, he kinda looks like Captain Underpants. Yeah, Harold replied. After a short silence, the two boys looked at each other and burst into laughter. George and Harold had never laughed so hard in their all lives. Tears ran down their faces and they rolled about the floor, shrinking in hysterics. After a while, George pulled himself up from the floor for another look. Hey! George cried. Where'd he go? Chapter 12. Out the window. Tra-la-la! George and Harold dashed to the window and looked out. There's a running across the parking lot with a pluggy old guy in his underwear with a red cap flowing behind him. Mr. Krupps, come back! Shouted Harold. He won't answer to that, said George. He thinks he's Captain Underpants now. Oh no, said Harold. He's probably running off to fight crime, said George. Oh no, said Harold. And we've got to stop him, said George. Oh no, cried Harold. No way. Look, said George. He could get killed out there. Harold was unmoved. Or worse, said George, we could get into big trouble. You're right, said George. We gotta go after him. The two boys opened the bottom file cabinet drawer and took out their slingshots and skateboard. Do you think we should bring anything else? Asked Harold. Yeah, said George. Let's bring our fake doggy Doo-Doo. Good thinking, said Harold. You just never know when fake doggy Doo-Doo is going to come in handy. Harold stuffed Mr. Krupps' clothes, shoes and toupee in his backpack. Then together the two boys leaped out of the window, slid down the flagpole, and took off their skateboards after the amazing Captain Underpants. Chapter 13 Bank Robbers. My gosh, how many chapters are in here? Let's check. Alright, so there are 20 chapters? You kidding? Alright, so let's go again. Chapter 13 Bank Robbers. George and Harold rode their skateboards all over town, looking for Captain Underpants. I can't find him anywhere, said Harold. You'd think a little guy, you'd think a guy like him would be easy to spot, said George. Then the boys turned a corner, and there he was. Captain Underpants was standing in the front of the bank, looking quite heroic. Mr. Krupp, cried Harold. Shh, said George. Don't call him that. Call him Captain Underpants. Oh yeah, said Harold. And don't forget to snap your fingers, said George. Right, said Harold. Ring. But before he got a chance, the back doors flew wide open, and out stepped two robbers. The robbers took one look at Captain Underpants and stopped dead of their tracks. Surrender, said Captain Underpants, or I'll have to resort my willpower. Oh no, whispered George and Harold. Nobody moved for about 10 seconds. Finally, the robbers looked at each other, burst out laughter. They dropped their loot and fell to the sidewalk, screaming in hysterics. Almost immediately, the cops showed and arrested the crooks. Let that be a lesson to you, cried Captain Underpants. Never underestimate the power of underwear. The police chief, looking quite angry, marched over to Captain Underpants and just, who the heck are you supposed to be? The police chief demanded. Why, I'm Captain Underpants, the world's greatest superhero, said Captain Underpants. I fight for truth, justice, and all that is Shunk and Courtney. Oh yeah, shouted the police chief. Cuff him, boys. One of the cops took out his handcuffs and grabbed Captain Underpants by the arm. Uh-oh, cried George. We gotta roll together. The two boys zoomed into the crowd, weaving in and out of the cops and bystanders. Harold skated up to Captain Underpants and knocked the superhero off his feet. George caught him and wait. Oh, I'm so tired. George caught him and the boys skated away with Captain Underpants on their shoulders. Stop! Cried the cops. But it was too late. George and Harold and Captain Underpants were gone. Chapter 14 The Big Bang. The Big Bang happened in space, not in the land. After their quick escape, George and Harold and Captain Underpants stopped on a desert street corner to catch their breath. I also got to catch my breath. Just wait. Alright, so let's start again. After their quick escape, George and Harold and Captain Underpants stopped on a desert street corner to catch their breath. Okay, said George. Let's dehypnotize him quick before something else happens. Kaboom! A huge explosion came from a rare crystal shop across the street. Heavy smoke poured out of the building. Suddenly, two robots with one stolen crystal emerged from the smoke and jumped into an old truck. Did I just see two robots get into a truck? Asked Harold. You know, said George, up until now this story was almost believable. Next page. Well, believable or not, said Harold, we're not getting involved. I repeat, we are not getting involved. Just then, Captain Underpants leaped from the street corner and dashed into the front truck. Stop! Stop in the name of underwear! He cried. Uh-oh, said George. I think we're involved. The two robots started up the truck and swerved around Captain Underpants. Unfortunately, the truck brushed up against his red cap, and it and it caught with a mighty jerk. Captain Underpants flipped backward and truck pulled him along as it drove away. The bad guys. Grab him! Cried George. The two boys skateboarded with all their might towards the speeding truck and grabbed Captain Underpants by the ankles. Help! They cried as the trucks pulled them through the city streets. Mommy, Mommy, said a little boy sitting on a bench. I just saw two robots driving a truck with a guy in his underwear hanging off the back by a red cap pulling two boys on skateboard behind with his feet. How do you expect me to believe such a ridiculous story? Asked his mother. But stop. Tablets times. Bigfoot gives birth to 200-pound UFO baby. The bad guys. Old abandoned warehouse. Finally, the truck came to a screeching halt in the front of old abandoned warehouse. The sudden stop made Captain Underpants flip over the roof and truck and the crashed flip over the roof. The sudden stop made Captain Underpants flip over the roof of the truck and crash through the front door of the building. Well, said a strange voice from inside the warehouse. It looks as if we have a visitor. Chapter 15. Dr. Diaper. What? Are you kidding? George and Harold hid behind the truck until the coasts were clear. Then they sneaked up to the hole in the door and peeked inside. Captain Underpants was all tied up. The two robots were standing guard, and a strange little man wearing a diaper was laughing menacingly. I am the evil Dr. Diaper, the strange little man told Captain Underpants, and you will be the first to witness my takeover of the world. Dr. Diaper placed the stone crystal into a large machine called Lasermatic 2000. The machine started to light and make loud noises. Heavy gears began shifting and spinning, and a laser beam from the crystal shot straight up through a hole in the roof. In exactly 20 minutes, this laser beam was blow up the moon and sent huge chunks of it crashing up down every major city in the world, laughed Dr. Diaper. Then I will rise from the rubble and take over the planet. Only one thing can help us now, said George. What? Asked Harold. Rubber doggy doo, said George. Harold took the fake doggy doo and slingshot from George's backpack and handed them to him. Be careful, said Harold. The fate of entire planet is in your hands. Be careful and precise arm. George shot the rubber doo through the air and across the room. It landed with a plop. Right at the feet of Dr. Diaper. Yes, whispered George and Harold. Dr. Diaper looked down at the doo between his feet and turned bright red. Oh dear me, he cried. I'm dreadfully embarrassed. Please excuse me. He began to waddle towards the restroom. This has never happened to me before. I assure you, he said. I guess with an excitement, oh dear, oh dear. While Dr. Diaper was off changing himself, John and Harold sneaked into the old warehouse. Immediately, the robots detected the boys and began marching towards them. Destroy the intruders, said the robots. Destroy the intruders. George and Harold screamed and ran to the back of the warehouse. Luckily, George found two old boards and gave one of them to Harold. We're not going to have to resort to incredibly graphic violence, are we? Asked Harold. I sure hope not, said George. Chapter 16, an incredible graphic violence chapter in Flippy-Rama. Warning. The following chapter contains graphic scenes showing two boys beating the tar out from a couple robots. If you have high blood pressure or if you faint at the sight of motor oil, we strongly urge you to take better care of yourself and stop being such a baby. Introducing Flippy-Rama. Yeah, I know Flippy-Rama. But for you guys, I'll read it. As everybody knows, nothing enhances silly action sequence more than really cheesy animation. And so, for the first time in the history of great literature, we proudly bring you the latest in cheesy animation technology, the art of Flippy-Rama. Alright, you guys can take a snapshot. I'll just pause the video and read it because I'm not gonna read it. Now let's take a look at the Flippy-Rama. Flippy-Rama 1, Robot Rampage. So this robot's hand, the bottom robot's hands was open and now closed. Now you look at these pictures. I'll just move them and this would be like an animation for you guys. Got it? Alright. Oh, there's one more. Flippy-Rama 2. Now they're going to beat the robot. George saves Harold. Take a look at it. Now one more Flippy-Rama. Flippy-Rama 3. Harold returns the favor. Take a look at it again. Flippy-Rama 4. Mixed nuts and bolts. Jump, jump, jump. Take a look at it. Take a look at this page, this picture, and now at this picture. Alright. Chapter 17, The Escape. After defeating the robots, George and Harold untied Captain Underpants. Come on, cried Harold. Let's get out of here. Wait, said Captain Underpants. We have to save the world first. So George and Harold and Captain Underpants frantically looked all over the Lasermatic 2000, searching for a way to shut it down and stop the inevitable disaster. Said Harold. I think this might be the lever we want. He pulled the self-destruct lever, and with all his might, suddenly the Lasermatic 2000 began to sputter and shake. The huge laser beam turned off, and pieces of machine began flying off in all directions. It's gonna blow! Cried Harold. Run for your lives! Not so fast! Screamed Dr. Diaper, who had appeared out of nowhere. You demolished my robots, you destroyed my Lasermatic 2000, And you ruined my one of the chance to take over the world. But you won't live to tell the tale. Dr. Diaper pulled out his Diaper-Matic 2000 ray gun and pointed it at George and Harold and Captain Underpants. Screeched! Captain Underpants quickly scratched one pair of underwear and shot it at Dr. Diaper. The Underpants yanked it right on Dr. Diaper's head. Help! Cried Dr. Diaper. I can't see! Snap! George and Harold ran out of the warehouse as fast as they could. Great shot, Captain Underpants, cried Harold. There's just one thing I don't understand, said George. Where do you get extra pair of underwear? What extra pair? Said Captain Underpants. Never mind that, cried George. Let's get out of here. Never mind that, cried George. Let's get out of here before the laser-matic thing kaboom explodes. The laser-matic 2000 blew up, tearing apart the old warehouse. It sent flaming shards of red-hot metal in every direction. Fire fell from skies around around our heroes, and the earth began to crumble beneath their feet. Oh no! Cried Harold. We are doomed! Boom! Chapter 18. Chapter 18. To make a long story short, they got away. Alright, let me drink water now. Chapter 19. Back to school. Wait, Chapter 18 was only of one page? Silly. Chapter 19. Back to school. George and Harold and Captain Underpants made a quick stop outside the police station. They tied Dr. Diaper to a lamp post and attached a note to him. There, said Captain Underpants. That explains everything. Arrest me! Police station. Back in 15 minutes. Please don't commit any crimes till we return. Thank you. Then George and Harold let Captain Underpants clothes back. Then George and Harold led Captain Underpants to Jarmus Horwitz Elementary School. Why are we going here? Asked Captain Underpants. Well, said George, you have some undercover work here. Yeah, said Harold, reaching into his backpack. Put these clothes on and make it snappy. Don't forget your hair, said George. Captain Underpants quickly got dressed behind some bushes. Well, how do I look? He asked. Pretty good, said George. Now try to look really mad. Captain Underpants made a nastiest face as he could. You know, said Harold, he kinda looks like Mr. Grubb. Harold, whispered George. He is Mr. Grubb. Oh yeah, said Harold. I almost forgot. Before long, they were all back inside Mr. Grubb's office. Okay, Captain Underpants, said George. You are now Mr. Grubb. Snap your fingers. Snap your fingers, whispered Harold. Oh yeah, said George. Snap. You are now Mr. Grubb. Who's Mr. Grubb? Asked Captain Underpants. Oh no, cried Harold. It's not working. The boys tried again and again to dehypnotize Captain Underpants, but nothing seemed to work. Said Harold. Let me see the instruction manual for that ring. George checked his pants pockets. Said George. I think I lost it. You what? Cried Harold. The two boys searched frankly through the office, but the 3D hypnotic instruction manual was nowhere to be found. Never mind, said George. I have an idea. He moved the flowers from a large vase in the corner and poured out all the water over Captain Underpants' head. What did you do that for? Cried Harold. I saw him doing this in cartoon verse once, said George, so it's gotta work. And after a few minutes, Mr. Grubb slowly came to. What's going on here? He demanded. And why am I so all wet? George and Harold had never been so glad to see Mr. Grubb in all their lives. I'm so happy I could cry, said Harold. You're gonna cry when I give you that videotape to the football team, shouted Mr. Krupp. I've had it with you too. Principal Krupp took the videotape out of his file cabinet. You boys are dead meat, he sneered, and stomped out of his office with the videotape headed towards the gym. George and Harold smiled. Wait till the football team sees that video, said Harold. Yeah, said George. I sure hope they like singing Purple Dragons. Hey, look, said George. I found the 3D hypnotic manual, instruction manual. It was in my shirt pocket. Not my pant pocket. Well, throw that thing away. Said Harold. We never need it again. I sure hope not, said George. Warning. Whatever you do, don't pour water on anybody's head when they're in a trance. This will cause the hypnotized person to slip back and forth. Wait. This will cause the hypnotized person to slip back and forth from trance to reality whenever they hear the sound of fingers snapping. Chapter 20. The End. La 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 la, we love Boomer, la la la. Purple dragons sing along, friends. 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 Things at German Horwitz Elementary School were never quite the same after that fateful day. The football team enjoyed Mr. Krupp's video so much that they changed their name from Kunkleheads to Purple Dragon Sing-Along Friends. The name change didn't go over too well the fans, but hey, who's gonna argue with a bunch of linebackers? George and Harold went back to their old ways, pulling pranks, cracking jokes, and making new comic books. They had to keep an eye on Mr. Krupp though. Snap. Snap. Ha 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 ha. Snap because for some strange reason every time he heard the sound of fingers snapping, snap, Principal Krupp turns back into you know who. Oh no, cried Harold. Here we go again, said George. Tra la la, Captain Underpants. The origin of Captain Underpants. How many pages are still left? Well, read 138 and we are on 118. It will soon be over. The origin of Captain Underpants. Dav Pilkey created Captain Underpants when he was 8 years old. Whatever. It all happened back in 1974 when Dav was second grader at S.C. John's Lutheran School in Elyria, Ohio. It might not surprise you to know that Dav Pilkey was the class clown in the second grade. He was also the class artist. Whenever Dav got a chance, he would draw funny pictures to make his friends laugh. Dav also folded sheets of paper in half to make his own fliporamas. When depicted ridiculous scenes of mayhem, he and his friends called them flip actions. Back then, like George and Harold, Dav Pilkey even made his own original comic books. All these things were seen as great distractions and annoyance by Dav Cantaker's teacher, Mr. Ribble, not her real name. It was this very teacher, who independently gave Dav the idea for Captain Underpants one day. Mr. Ribble was talking to the class and she happened to use the word underwear. Everyone in the Dav's class immediately began to laugh. This irritated Dav's teacher and she got very angry. She scolded the teacher, shouting, ha 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 tee hee. Underwear is not funny. Ha 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 ho 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 he 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 ha ha he he he. This only made the class laugh even harder. At that moment, Dav Pilkey had an epiphany. He realized that underwear was a very powerful thing. Just the mere mention of it could make everyone laugh. That day, Dav Pilkey drew his very first drawing, a capped hero named Captain Underpants. Dav's drawing was immediate hit with his classmates. Mr. Ribble, however, was not amused. She immediately tore up Dav's drawing and sent him out into hallway. Dav was no stranger to spending time in hallway. In the second grade, Dav got banished to the hallway almost every day. Usually he spends this time sneaking up and down the corridors, changing the letters on all of the bulletin boards around so that they spelled out, "Mr. Pilkey out! Catch a fart." Hey. Ridiculous things. It wasn't long before Mr. Ribble got wise to Dav's hallway singles and moved a small desk out there, as he would say, put. Usually, Dav drew silly pictures. When he sat in the hallway desk. But on the day Dav got great infinity, he was inspired and began making a comic book about his underwear-clad hero. Captain Underpants flew in action on the pages. Our school has sprint. They were trying to write sprint, but he wrote spit. Of Dav's story defeating terrible monsters, rescuing innocent children, and saving the world in crazy flip action scenes. When Dav was finally allowed back into the classroom, he brought his comic in with him. It didn't take long before Captain Underpants' first adventure began, causing outbursts of laughter, and earlier Mr. Ribble seized Dav's comic, ripped it off, and told him he'd better straighten up. "You can spend the rest of your life making silly books," told him. Despite his teacher admonishments, Dav Pilkey did indeed continue making silly books. In fact, Dav got his very first silly book published when he was still in college. After he graduated, Dav wrote and illustrated many more silly books about dogs, cats, mice, dragons, and dumb bunnies. When he wasn't making books, Dav visited hundreds of schools and libraries and talked with children about his experiences as an author. Every time Dav spoke, he would draw a giant picture of Captain Underpants, which made the children laugh hysterically. At the end of his presentations, kids would always ask Dav the same question: "Are you ever going to make a book about Captain Underpants?" "I don't know," Dav would reply. "Do you think I should?" The answer was always resulting roof-raising screams of "Yes! Zong!" So, in 1996, Dav Pilkey began writing a drawing, the book you are holding in your hands right now. Dav wanted to include as much as of his own childhood and possible in the book, as he based George and Harold on himself, like Dav, George, and Harold are class and clowns and class artists. They make comics. They switch letters around on signs, and they are always getting in trouble with their teachers and principal for one thing or another. And of course, their action scenes are always presented in Flipperama. fun facts. Alright guys, you can write the fun facts. Alright guys, you can read the fun facts because I'm not gonna read it. You could just pause the video and read the fun facts. So you just pause the video. Now I'm changing the page. Pause the video and read again. Alright, so now these are only pictures. Next time I will be reading the book named the second one, Captain Underpants, and the Ivna season of the. It's written very small. I'm not able to read, but I'll read this one next time. Captain Underpants and the invasion of their incredibly naughty cafeteria ladies from outer space and subsequent ascent blah blah blah. I'll be reading this book next time. Till then, bye. Wait just a second. These Dogman's books. Yeah, I've read them all. You guys know I've already read all of the books of Dogman. This one. I've read this one, 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 this one. You know, there is one more new book, Dogman and the Mothering Heights. I like this one. I like this book of the Dogmans the most. I like this book of the Dogman the most. Dogman and the Cat Kid. It was awesome. Alright, so you could just pause the video and read this page too. And yeah, the book's done. Alright, so guys, bye. Thank you for watching.